Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Cashflow Digital, where we're finally back. Apologies, it's been a bit disruptive over the last few weeks, just with work and shit. I've not been about and all that stuff, but...
Well, you owe a lot to the church recently, Craig, because our Heavenly Father just saved your life. No. So I know you've been putting your tithes and offerings.
Now has COVID pandemic to protect yourself.
I'm telling you, the fight ain't off. It's just been postponed.
Just delayed. Yeah, you need more time. I completely 100% understand.
Wait. We can start. Paul's here.
Okay, cool.
Paul.
What up, Paul?
Hogden with the dodgy shirt is here. Alan Nafsger is...
Alan of Nazareth. That's Jesus. See, I went to church.
Dude, really? Okay.
But yeah.
How was you were in Brighton, right, bro?
Yeah, I was at not Brighton SEO though, just to be clear. I was at a different event. It was more of an entrepreneurs event, and it was my job to talk SEO. But it was always good to go back to Brighton. I do actually like that place. It's the gay capital of the UK. Before
I see why you like it.
Sounds about right, dude. No, it's
What's the gay capital of the US, Mike? Is that San Francisco?
Me.
Well, yeah, Idaho. So,
and someone, Paul Hogden's next time he's coming to be my tag partner. It ain't some kinky wrestling we're playing, Paul. But I'm sure, you can wrestle, Mike. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I can wrestle.
Bring your singlet.
I absolutely can. So you guys, just people, I keep getting pinged by people. Like there is a delay in Search Console data, people. So
there is a delay in everything with Google right now. I feel like
they're doing some
GMB, Search Console. They are making some monstrous changes, in my opinion. You can't get shit to go through.
It's interesting right now. Actually, I'm watching some funny shit in my search, dude.
They're not even giving postcard verification as an option. It's all video conference or whatever, or video call.
You know, that's why you always have like the can of lube ready when you get that tech.
Yeah, exactly.
You just got to do what you got to do, you know?
Yeah, with the
Search Console sucks like a Dyson. Search Console sucks like a Dyson, but Search Console rocks like, free money though too, you know? And they give us a lot of opportunity to make freaking easy money. Is what I was.
That's essentially become your number one tool recently, hasn't it? Or not recently, but slow progression into one year.
I would say in a way it is. Yeah.
Once the campaign is up and running. I would say, yeah.
I think our campaigns are focused mostly around like what can be done with the data that is given, and then what you can add on with some of the machine learning and some of the stuff where you can do some prediction on shit. But it's solid, dude. Holly said that they are still doing like entity recognition verification. So a bunch of
the farming. Yeah, it takes so long.
Yeah.
It'll definitely add validity though, for sure.
Holly, do you have a time frame on that shit right now? I'm not going to wait on you, but if you do, just like drop it out. But this week I wanted to talk clients, man. Craig, are you still doing client work? I think you are, right? Like your team somewhere?
Yeah, I've got a team that do it, and I do a small handful of it, but I'm very, very selective in who I entertain for obvious reasons. So, it's not my main focus, but money's money, right? And if there's money on the table and it's from a good place with someone who understands it, then I'm taking it. So, still do it a bit.
I think that's a good point, man, is that selectiveness, though, not only does it lead to maybe a solid contract, but that leads to revenue down the line with joint venture partners and shit like that, man. And so, like, when you can be selective like that, I've seen it turn into money so many times. I mean, have you taken anyone from, like, doing client work to lead gen to working together in the past, Craig, or no?
Yeah, always. I'm always looking for people with that kind of entrepreneurial thing going on, and I'm happy to invest my time, expertise, and all that kind of stuff to guide them to that, and do a joint venture or whatever. So rather than always looking for employees, I think sometimes it's not an option to grab good talent, if you like. So yeah, I'm always looking to angle myself in and help with the experience and education thing that I've got, and help mold them and take a percentage for doing that.
Right on.
Brad, I've actually seen in some instances you've got a client on the hook, they really want to hop on but they don't want to pay recurring. I have parlayed that into training, high dollar training, and of course I can shit out a members area pretty quickly, and they eat that crap up. But I've parlayed that into a $10,000 training program relatively easily, and they would prefer to do that type of contract because they can take that to their entire team. And I give them it would be basic to probably anyone, especially on any of us three, and I'm sure anyone in the audience. But it's like just going over basic SEO concepts and showing them what to do step by step. They'll eat that shit up. Give them access to a members area and 2 or 3 follow-up like calls, webinars, whatever you want to call them, and you can easily charge 5 to 10 grand for that. And then you get through all that, and you don't have to deal with them on a daily basis. You get a chunk of money. It's actually a pretty good deal, for everyone.
There's a doc that he does like naturopathic, some weird Eastern shit that I've never heard of, but I've been helping him with his like online training like situation, kind of like what you've been doing with the dude in the gym, right? And just those little freaking tweaks and little advices you give to people make them a ton of money, and it pays fucking dividends down the line, dude.
Yeah. Well, just switching from a high ticket, speaking of the gym, switching from a high ticket, like 4 to 5 figure product to a recurring based revenue model has helped everyone out in that situation exponentially. I would much rather get a bunch of people and keep stacking them up on a $47 a month program that's all online, and then you just keep building that. And then if all your online marketing goes to shit, but you've still got that recurring base, it'll pay dividends down the road. It's not as fun as gathering $1,000 to $1,500 at a time, but it does add up over the long haul. The lifetime value of the customer will go up quite a bit when you can switch to that kind of model.
It's interesting. So like I want to talk KPIs, Craig, like with the clients that you do have. Like we had someone mention percentage share. I don't necessarily consider a percentage share a client. It's more of like
more of a JV or partnership. Yeah.
In my head, but like,
which is good. You can still, it's still a good situation, but yeah.
But in a client situation, KPIs, like what kind of KPIs are you guys delivering right now?
The KPIs can only, I think this is for me, a gray area. People overcomplicate this. The main KPI should be your rankings, your traffic, and any conversions. And I think that's the whole thing with SEO. You can't really use other KPIs really, especially if you're working with clients. I think you've got to try and keep it simple and straight to the point, because otherwise there's going to be a whole lot of fluff around about it.
Yeah, we try and stick to traffic as much as possible. Of course, if that doesn't relay, if the traffic doesn't relay into increased sales, and there's of course a conversion issue. But yeah, we try and stick to traffic because we might not be able to help them with their conversion if we don't have access to the site. We don't know the niche well enough. If they're not fucking listening to us, we would rather have our KPIs based on something that we can control, which is traffic, and that's what they're paying us for, more eyeballs. It's just like turn it into a PPC campaign. And it's different than deliverables though. Deliverables are what you're giving them every month, whether that be articles, citations, PR, anything like that. It's definitely different than deliverables. I like to have the KPIs as a base, but then the deliverables really solidify in their mind that you're actually doing something every month. When we switch from our old model of this is mystical behind the curtains SEO to here's what you're going to get every month. It's a deliverable. We've been able to keep clients on much longer.
The deliverables are key, especially when you get into a situation where you ultimately do not control the end sale, but you should be concerned with the end sale, because if you're generating traffic and then they're not making money, they're still going to cut you. You're either going to
You're definitely going to have to help them in some way,
or you're going to succeed and fail, or you're going to fail and fail, right? You're going to succeed with SEO and fail with the client, or you're going to fail at SEO and fail with the client anyway. So if you're not delivering deliverables that can justify what's going on, because what the deliverables I think can do when they're done correctly is that they can save your ass for the time period where the client's making those stupid ass decisions. At least I've seen that in the past, right? If you have the deliverables to say, hey, look, it's coming in here. Hey, look, we're doing our job every month, and they're not converting, and you can point out like, hey, we need to be doing it like this over here, that over there. I think that's a huge difference than just saying, hey, your conversion sucks. It's not my fault, right? Your conversion sucks. It's not my fault is a great excuse to use for just ranking shit keywords that don't do shit for anybody, right?
Also, it's a good way to get out of a contract. I've done my job. It's a good way to help you sleep at night. Well, I did my job. I can't help that their conversion sucked on their website. So
what's the most pain in the ass situation with agency you think you've had, Craig? I'm interested in that, man.
The most pain in the ass. There's a fair few of them. Things that I found really painful was hiring good people. And the client management, bear in mind that when I ran my proper agency on my own and all that kind of stuff, I wasn't educated in business, and I was quite a bit of a kind of control freak. So I wanted to do everything, from sales to reporting and everything. And I involved myself in a lot of stuff, and I wouldn't delegate. So I found all of those things like client reporting, client phone calls, hiring good staff. Those were the real pain in the ass, time consuming things that I absolutely hated. And I'm pretty sure everyone else out there will be able to resonate with that as well. They're just like, fuck this shit. It wasn't, talking, networking to people, finding a place to get links or any of that stuff. I find all that stuff naturally quite easy. But it's all the hand holding and holding the client's hand, educating the client and all that kind of stuff. I just found a real grind.
Yeah, for me, I think it was the hand holding. It's absolutely the hand holding and trying to explain why something is quality, even though they can't understand it themselves.
You spend more time on the hand holding than you do the actual SEO.
Exactly. That was my thing. You're just like, dude, the more I fucking talk to you, I don't have any time left now to do any fucking work.
Yeah. So, I think the worst type of situation is where you've done all the SEO, you've done the hand holding, and they are slow to pay. Because then you're spending more time chasing a check at that point than you are the actual SEO. So you're spending your time chasing the check, answering their questions, and then it leaves very little time for SEO.
Yeah.
So
I'm interested, like with the data lapse that we have right here, and there was another one back in August that was kind of impactful for people. I wonder if anyone in the audience or whatever has that impact their discussions with clients this week or anything, because I know that I've seen it in the past for people actually cause issues when they go to start reporting and then there's not data for that shit. It's a simple conversation, but I've seen it cause some really big issues for people. And I know there are people that report just on ranking, but I think that's getting much more dangerous these days because ranking is a subjective thing, and there is split testing, there is timeshare, there's solid positioning, and then there's not solid positioning. And so I think for the newer people out there, if you are just reporting on your ranking at this point, that you really need to start looking at other KPIs. It's kind of a point I wanted to get out today because a few people I know that are newer with their agencies got into some serious shit recently with their reporting because they were focusing on head terms that were kind of not the direction they were taking their campaigns, even though that they were the ones they talked about in sales. And so I guess a learning. When you do client work, here's the question I have. When you guys do client work, do you update your KPIs as the campaign flows, or do you let it sit? And this will depend on agency size and what you have in place for people in the audience. But to me, it's like optimization, right? If you start somewhere and then you determine you have to take a different direction, do you update the client or do you let it sit there and keep the same KPIs and just fucking go forward? And like, what's the process there for you guys?
It depends on what the KPI is set to initially, whether you have to change it or not.
Why would you change it?
I mean, if you're setting your KPI as rankings, like specific keyword rankings, and the campaign needs to or has to shift, then you're going to have to switch up those KPIs. Where if you base it primarily on traffic, it makes that much more fluid, in my opinion, because then you can kind of flow to a new set of keywords or a new module on the website and push it up there if you see an opportunity. So just focusing primarily on traffic, I feel like it provides you more leniency because you can always get traffic.
Yep. No, absolutely. So I got a question actually that says this, hey, Mike, I've got a page that's ranking for a term, and I'm not going to say the term, but they have a page that's ranking for it, and they want to create a page for that head term. And they're asking if canonicals are important in this case and yada, yada, yada. And so what are your guys' thoughts on this? So like people talk about cannibalization, and it's a big topic that we're going to be going over in Greensboro this year because people really don't understand it, in my opinion. But what are your thoughts on that? If like you've got a page that's randomly ranking for a keyword that's like a head term, that could be the top level pillar page of a cluster, you know, your hub page, whatever the hell you want to call it. What do you do in that situation where you've got a page already ranking there, but you need to do a new page for it?
Why are they wanting to do a new page? Just create like switch up the URL structure?
Conversion issues. Basically, it's a situation where the page that's ranking for it is basically not the right page to be ranking for it.
Okay.
It's an exclusion type situation, right?
I mean, depending on how technical you want to get, cloaking would come into play in that type of situation.
It can, absolutely.
You could deliver that way. Yeah, you could deliver the content that should be there, that's made for conversion, as opposed to the content that's really there. That's always an option. Do you want to do that on client sites? Maybe, maybe not, but it depends on the client. But yeah.
Like, do you have a process for it, Craig? Like if you find a keyword ranking on a page and it potentially deserves, it's large enough traffic, it deserves to become its own thing. Like, do you have a way you handle that, or like how would you go about that process? And like, what are your thoughts, man?
There's no solid answer to this, because sometimes when you do make this switch, so for example, I'll give you an example. Years ago, I first started out my blog and I had SEO Glasgow in the homepage title tag. Now, my blog was probably around for a year or two before I became relatively well known. And
I'm still waiting to be well known. It's been fucking how many years? No one knows.
What happened is I stupidly had the area SEO Glasgow in the homepage title tag, and it was ranking reasonably well because of all the links and all that I was getting. And then I decided, you know, shit, I've started this thing off incorrectly and I wanted my inner page to rank. So I tried to get an inner page to rank, and I tried to de-optimize the homepage. And for one reason or another, historically, Google just liked this fucking homepage, and it was really fucking hard.
That's where all the traffic was, probably.
Yeah. So it just wouldn't shift over. I couldn't get it done. Now, I could have worked harder on it, of course, but I think, you know, unless there's a real reason to change that shit, I wouldn't be changing that. You've got to set yourself out with the right kind of structure first and foremost, because sometimes it can be hard after years of traffic to then shift that and get Google to acknowledge another page. So there is no set process as such, because it might take a bit of nurturing, it might take a bit of fucking around. So there is no set process, because I couldn't ever get that SEO inner Glasgow page to work.
I've had trouble with that as well back in the day.
I think everyone has at some point. Yeah. I think
that's when I was setting up those smaller websites, and you know, the homepage was my primary focus. But then I'm like, fuck, I want this to be on the inner page. Now I set it up. I have no intentions of ever ranking the homepage for anything. Typically, it's all internal page based. So
well, even more so now, man, with Google deciding, you know, if you're not doing your job, they're going to rewrite your titles and they're going to tell you what they think that page is about the best of their ability, right? And it's your job to kind of interpret that data because, dude, every market, they're going to control what they believe about that market, and they're going to show you what they believe about that market. And if you're trying to fight them on where they should understand your website, then you're making a mistake, in my opinion. So unless, especially at a level like that, we're talking about a 2-word like head phrase that to me is a little, it's not disambiguated. It's just like too broad match, right? Like SEO is a broad match thing right now. And so you have to look at it from that. When Google decides that this set of pages or this page actually is what we want to deliver for this set of queries, this match set of queries, then you need to kind of look at that and tailor it and customize that optimization set of pages to what they need instead of trying to fight them. It just doesn't make sense to fight them, in my opinion. There's too many ways, like you said, to like deliver by context. You know, look at where someone's coming from, you know, look at what they search. There's ways to see every query that someone searches on your website. You don't have to be limited to what freaking Google tells you. You can actually find this info and you can use that to like truly actually deliver a contextual freaking experience for your user. And I think that's where people have to start focusing, is like, that's where they're missing the game. Those pages potentially could be 2 pages on a website and both rank for the same query and not compete with each other. It's not a website to website thing and query to query thing. It's more about the intent of the page. I'm just going to say it like that is the easiest way to say it right now. I don't think people understand cannibalization enough right now. I think that's where they get in a lot of trouble. But thank you, Booth Co. David Hennessy said I would create a pillar page and see if it ranks and de-optimize the old ranking page. And that's what I'm getting at a little bit with intent. Yeah. Because if we're talking about apples and it's a query like tasty apples or whatever. And if we're talking about tasty apples, like we can talk about tasty apples for pies.
I'm going to see your tasty apples next week.
Exactly, baby. Tasty apples for pies versus tasty apple pies for Christmas. They're not competitive to each other, dude. So I think that understanding that allows those decisions to be made a little bit easier and shit.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, Ross had a kind of philosophical SEO question. Get your thoughts on it. I don't get SEO. It's chess, but I'm playing checkers type thing. It's really checkers, to be honest. Could you want to pull that one up from Ross?
Yeah, that's a good one there from Ross Evans at 9:17 my time or 11:17.
Give me a second. I just have to scroll up.
My clock's all jacked up. It's not 9:17 here, dude.
Is it not? No, it's 10:17, right?
Yeah, dude. And I'm like, it says 9:17, but that's because I'm too lazy to change and fix the internal clock. But I just don't get SEO. It's like chess, but I'm playing checkers. Maybe it's really that. It's really easy, but I think it's an understanding of like one or two few key concepts that make it a little bit harder for people, to be honest.
I think people get in their own way as well. That's why we came out with NFG, the paralysis by analysis. And when we showed everyone like, okay, just focus on the URL title and content, get that up and see what it does. And then you can optimize that content further. You can start linking to it if you want to. But yeah, and what Mike has been talking about, the continuous optimization going down the road, that's just when you start to see the traffic and everything, then you go back in and you go through it with something like COG after the fact, and then you check on it later on to make sure that it's still solid based on, you know, their data. But yeah, it's on page and then some off page, and just don't overdo it.
You wouldn't go pay for an ad set in AdWords and leave it there without looking at how it's converting and looking at what's happening with the click-through rate. So why would you create content and leave it there? There's a lot of talk about content velocity and shit right now. This is a good one we got to talk about for sure. There's a lot of talk about content velocity right now, and content velocity and like updating your content is all well and good, and it has to be done, and there's ways to do it right. But there's people, I think, do it just for the sake of, instead of understanding why they should actually be doing this shit and how they should actually be doing it. And I think that's where the gap is created. Like people find out like this is the tactic to use right here. This is the tactic or gimmick, right? But they don't have the strategy behind it. And it's the strategy that makes it that much more cost effective and easier to do, in my opinion. But I don't know. Why do you think people have that gap, dude? Craig, any idea? Like, do you just think it's a lack of experience or bad information? Like, what is it, man?
I think there's a lot of bad information. Overcomplication. Yeah. Undersimplification. Yeah, I think is. Go on, sorry.
I think a big fault that I always see with people who are coming into SEO or are fairly new to it is they listen to too many people. So they'll go to like me, for example, and they'll listen to me and I'll tell them some stuff and they're like, nah, it can't be that easy. Then they go and listen to 10 other guys and they end up all fucking confused as shit. And then they come back and go, Craig, you were really direct. You kept it very simple, blah, 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 blah. I like you again. But they start going from person to person to person. And I just think there's too much information out there and it can become really overwhelming. And as you guys know, there's a lot of bullshitters out there as well. And I know some of the stuff we talk about, people are like, this is pie in the sky shit. It doesn't work. But, you know, you have to be able to read in between the lines and stuff. And I think people want stuff in black and white. And because SEO is not a black and white topic, and different shit works for different people in different niches, I think people who are maybe scared just don't want to try shit either, and they just get scared by all this Google talk and Google terms of service and everything else.
You know, and I agree 100%. And we literally are at a crossroads right now. It's been 2 years, but there is a pre and post SEO right now. There is the way you could do SEO before, and there is the way you can do SEO now. And no matter what anybody says, it doesn't mean you can't spam. It doesn't mean you can't have fun with SEO. It just means that you're doing it differently than you were 4 years ago. And that is what is happening right now. We're living in a kind of a place right now where it's really easy to pull in ranking, really easy to get that initial ranking going. People are like missing out on how to optimize everything into money at this point is what it really looks like to me. There's a good question here from Robert too on that I just actually saw. I massively increased traffic of several of my customers through SEO. Unfortunately, I've noticed that many companies have problems converting leads into sales, especially smaller companies, owner plus 1 to 5 employees. Do you have any advice for me on how I can improve the lead to sales process for these customers? I think part of that really, one second. Part of that really starts with a disconnect from the day one shit of like, you're not doing SEO just to do SEO. You're doing SEO because it's part of your freaking marketing funnel and you're bringing in traffic to convert. And I think that starts a disconnect from day zero. But go on, Brad. I think I have an idea.
I was just going to say, and a quick story about my first official SEO client that I wasn't getting paid for. So you'll have to, bottom line, you'll have to audit the calls. We've dealt with it in substance abuse. You know, we were actually dealing with a network of centers at one point where they're like, oh, we've got killers. We're hiring, we're building a team, you know, a boiler room to help close the people calling in, because if you get an inbound lead for substance abuse, there's so many different fucking variables, so many different ways. You're dealing with people's insurance. You're dealing with people that obviously have some type of issue with the substance, whether it be alcohol, drugs, whatever. So they're traditionally flightier. You might have, you know, it's a big decision to drop everything and go to a treatment facility for at least just a detox would be a week, but you're looking at like 30 to 90 days. So, you know, I was like, are you sure you have this down? Mm-hmm. Yeah, bro, we got it down. Okay, cool. So we start sending calls. They're like, man, these aren't converting. Dude, we're sending it to someone else and they're converting like crazy. You're insane. Well, we can't keep paying for them. Okay, let me listen to the calls. I'm like, these are fucking horrible. One, they couldn't accept the amount of insurances that the other place could, so that killed their conversions. Two, you know, they would either stay on the phone way too long or get off way too early.
Can I pause you right there?
Yeah.
The insurance thing is a really good thing for you, Robert, to pay attention to, because I think that really lends itself to understanding why context and intent is so fucking important in SEO, and why people that say that it doesn't have it doesn't do this, it doesn't that. we can talk about the tech of a profile and how it actually directly affects your ranking, but we can also talk about the fact that if you don't understand it, you're ranking for shit that's not going to be able to be converted at the end of the day. And if you don't start from day zero and do that properly, then you might rank for a bunch of stuff that they cannot convert. And I see this.
Yeah, if you're ranking for methadone clinics or methadone treatment, methadone whatever, rehab facilities don't want that. You can generate a shit ton of calls with that, but
and it's
at the
every
end of the day,
freaking industry. I see it in agency. I see it in people's onboarding documents. When your onboarding documents are not right, then you can create the most fucked up and screwed up SEO campaigns that just are a waste of money. And I see it a lot. I'd say like a lot of people create improper SEO campaigns from like the beginning with their client because they are trying to just sell SEO and get the client going, and they don't fucking think about the end result, right? So it goes back to those KPIs and understanding what you're doing. Once you understand that, like the tech of this, like Google's made a situation where we can automate SEO. Like really, we can automate a lot of SEO, and then we need to touch in our gut in there in a little bit. It really has to be paid attention to.
Yeah. So I would, referring to Robert, I would go back and I would audit the calls. So that's what we had to do with this rehab campaign. We audited the calls because we were getting the calls. They just weren't converting. So you need to look at it. Is the site itself not converting? So are people hitting the site and not either filling out the form or calling or whatever they need to do? Or are they calling or filling out the form or what have you? And it's the call center's issue. If it's the call center's issue, then you maybe need to help them with that conversion point. If it's the website, then you need to look at that and see where can we maybe add an exit pop. Can we add an additional click to call within the content? Can we test different headlines to get people to actually call? If you're having trouble with if your loved one is having trouble with substance abuse, watch the fucking commercials in that niche. So look at the competition, look what they're doing, look at someone that you very well think is getting conversions and see where that is. So once you've pinpointed that, whether it's a site issue or an owner operator issue, then you need to kind of fix that. And back to my very first SEO client site, I was doing web design and this guy calls me. He's like, I've got a mobile detailing business. I need a new website. I've got a GoDaddy site. Okay, we'll have to build it from the ground up. We can do it. Can you help me with this SEO stuff? I was like, hang on, let me look and see what it is. Yeah, I can help you with that. So I look up everything I could about SEO and shit. I get him ranked #1 because it's, mobile detailing in Greensboro is not very competitive. I saw that he was getting calls, and he's like, I'm not getting any calls. Yes, you are. I fucking see it. You're getting calls. I'm not getting any calls. I see. Okay. I'll do more or whatever. I'd already got my $500 for the site. Whatever. I'd done my job. So I have a buddy. It was when I was still doing a day job. I was like, hey, call this guy and have him come out. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll call him. He's like, I got a Mustang. I need it washed. The dude it's a one-man shop. He's going from job to job. He's picking up the phone, no way to take notes or anything like that. He's like, okay, yeah, let me hit you back up as soon as as soon as I get to where I can. Okay. The dude never called back. And then he calls me later that day or later that week or whatever. And he's like, I'm not getting calls. I was like, well, you're full of shit because you got a legitimate lead earlier today. And so it's you've got to pinpoint where it is, and you've got to either fix that or break the relationship. So
yeah, you really have to look into where the failure is, and just don't cripple it from the beginning.
Yeah, and don't beat yourself up about it if it's a conversion issue on their end. I mean, if you're bringing in the qualified traffic like you're supposed to, and you're doing everything that you can, and you're making these suggestions, and they just don't take your advice, who gives a shit about them? Fuck them, not in a mean way, but you can lead a horse to water type thing. Fuck them. If they're not going to listen to you and you're doing everything possible within your realm of knowledge, I mean, yeah, there's not much more you can do,
This is why, like, this kind of thing right here is why we don't sell SEO. We've never, like, for 6 years, 5 years, whatever it's been, like this whole thing that people are talking about with content velocity and everything that everyone's getting freaking hot about right now is something that we've been doing for a very long time, and we've been structuring any sort of sales around that as well. We separated from the keyword ranking individually a long time ago because the writing was on the wall years ago that SEO needed to turn into a broad match situation that was centered around like the consumer and the profile of the website. So it's a profile based landscape right now where a user is a profile to Google and a website is a profile to Google, and that's why
they're just data points. Yeah, they're building the profile with various data points so they can sell more ads.
That's why when you see my link profile and go, oh, that's an irrelevant link, you're completely wrong, and my link is highly relevant to what I'm doing, even though you can't see it, right? There's a lot of interesting shit going on right now with that, because like we do a lot of link building in a lot of restricted markets, and we do a lot of on page in a lot of restricted markets, and we're in a spot right now where you can make tweaks and you can move up for like literally top 50, top 100 CPC terms within a few weeks if you do shit correctly. So when they've made it that like how do I want to say it? That templated, if you understand to go out to a broad level rather than focusing on like, oh, there's 200 freaking factors that I can focus on. There's a lot more than that per page, right? They can look at whatever the fuck they want to look at. They're getting really good at this shit. And so when you understand it's about making sure that the right person sees shit at the right time, then SEO becomes much easier. And that's when you start to notice things like, well, if I start optimizing my titles while I'm building links, then there's a synergy there in this market. And you start to see these synergies where you start to see more revenue when you're doing your optimization because you're paying attention a little bit more. And so I guess when you're doing your work for your own fucking sites, it becomes easier to do that rather than client work, because client work, I think, lends itself to actually templating and not doing as much and not paying attention.
You're handcuffed with clients to a certain extent because you don't want to, you don't want to fuck up their site, you know. You might, I mean, I can always go buy a new domain and start over if I fuck something up. With the client site, it's harder to tell them to start with a new domain or a CMS we found, you know. So.
What's your favorite part of SEO right now, Craig?
I just like the automation and AI and all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm more of
That's exactly what my answer would be.
You know, I'm just more of a kind of gadgety guy. So like when new phones and shit come out, you know, I get excited, and it's the same when new tools come out or someone's like, dude, you need to see this fucking tool, and you need to see this, you need to see that. Like I seen something that blew my mind. There's a guy with Surf for SEO, for example, and he's got this thing. It's his own custom made tool, and basically this guy can create Surfer SEO optimized content at the push of a button. You know, pulling AI and doing all the shit that Surfer wants and blah 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 blah, and spitting it out. And I'm just like, man, I love this shit. You know, I'm not a kind of expert in automation or anything, but we can hire these guys relatively easy. And I think for me, what is really exciting is we know what we need to do. We know what tools we need to use and all that kind of shit. And I think automating that to make that shit easier. I don't know. I get a cheap thrill out of it, and I'm pretty sure you're just like, you feel as if you're cheating on the fucking system, if you like, by like getting away with doing no fucking work, but being really smart.
It's so true, bro.
It's funny how much work you put into doing no work. Like searching for this type of stuff and tweaking this stuff, and it's like, man, I just put in a full day just trying to automate everything, but it's funny.
The data is all right there, and when you're collecting the data and using it properly, using the right APIs, using the right codes, right scripts, writing the right shit. That's why I think it's like a golden age right now. It really is, because it's a golden age where still a lot of people don't realize there's been a super big shift, and there's so many ways to make it a quick and automatic thing that I think it's one of my favorite times in SEO right now, to be honest. I think it's one of my favorite.
Robert has a rebuttal.
So Robert, record the phone calls.
Yeah, and in that case, I'm not going to deal with it unless they understand that conversion is directly on their end, and I wouldn't do that. personally.
Yeah, it's not always possible recording, especially in certain industries. I'm not suggesting that you have to record, like with the mobile detailing guy. I just had someone call in. Now that might be trickier with an asset management type of situation. But even in that case, you can look and, okay, we've got the conversion set up on the site. People are going to the site. We're seeing this conversion rate. That's, basically within industry standards. We're getting a nice solid conversion rate, the click to calls or whatever you're basing it on. If those numbers are looking good, then it's relatively obvious that it's on their end, and I would suggest to them to audit the calls. And if they don't audit the calls,
they should audit their own
fuck 'em.
calls. They should understand they're responsible for that. But you have a responsibility as well to look at the traffic coming in, the keyword sending traffic, and the calls that are coming in, and make sure that it's not off the conversion path and not out of the funnel. Like, you want to make sure that stuff's coming within the funnel. Because like I said, it's profile based. The clickstream is profile based. The link building is profile based. The connections are all profile based. It's all a funnel. Make sure the funnel is the proper funnel.
Yeah, for sure. Funnels are important though, and I think even you're saying what's your favorite. Like at that event I was talking at, there was just funnel guys who were really obsessed with like building funnels and stuff like that. And
funnel hackers, they get crazy about that.
Obviously, depending on who you ask, will give a completely different answer. And I think that's a great thing about our industry, though. There is guys who just purely make a living out of smashing the crap out of funnels, or guys who purely only do automation, or guys who only sell links, or guys who just sell content, like, with their automation and all that kind of stuff. So I think the great thing about SEO in this day and age is you can really niche down and become a real expert in a very particular part of SEO. But I think that's the way things are going, and I love the whole thing though. I love dipping into it all, because we're probably we're similar in age, Mike. So I think for us, we're probably as rounded digital marketers as you'll probably find out there, because back in the day we had to do all the shit, whereas now you can just be the suffer SEO guy and just call yourself a content marketer. Whereas
it's interesting how it's changed like that. The technical aspect has taken a forefront for specialization, it seems like. It's very interesting to see the way automation has changed over the last 20 something years with it, because it's always been possible to automate things and be ahead of the curve. Just feels, I can say it feels like it right now, but I'm sure I felt that same way in the last 20 years about wildcard subdomains. When wildcard subdomains were fucking just smoking, it felt like that as well. When you could just freaking just look at the query coming in, instantly build a subdomain, and freaking then you had traffic. I mean, it was another machine, just kind of like what's going on right now with like Search Console, AI, and automation, kind of the same shit. And we had a conversation about it the other day. We get closer and closer to the point where it's getting fine-tuned, where everyone can be on an even playing field with AI and automation and content optimization, where if you can automate, that means everyone can get to the same quality level to some extent. And so then you have to be able to knock them out of the park in another aspect of what we're doing. And it's funny because people say links don't matter, links this and that, but I would challenge anyone to jump into certain markets and try to do SEO without fucking link building and see how they fucking fare.
Go ahead and hop into pharma or porn without link building.
And so links don't matter until they matter, right? But that's where I see it going right now, is kind of like the content level evening itself out, and your automation ability and your scalability is where it starts to become the benefits there. And then your ability to take care of off page in a more cost efficient manner than other people is where it starts to become another battle and another race. So it's going to be an interesting couple of years as they keep tweaking all this shit out. They're doing some fucking interesting shit right now, man. They really are. As a new person coming in, like, where do you think people should focus? Like, what, because we see a lot of new people come in because we talk on YouTube and we do this. And I'm sure you see trends with people, like where their issues are and shit. What do you think?
I mean, there is issues with certain different people, but new people coming into the industry, I think what I would always try and tell people is try and, cut away a lot of the bullshit. A lot of SEO is on page and links, and they try and get too caught up in all the other kind of stuff. And I think I would always try and push them towards that. People always get, paralysis analysis or whatever you call it, shiny object syndrome, grabbing all the tools that are out there. I've seen guys that have got 4 and 5 tools that do the same fucking thing, and you're like,
right.
dude, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, they all do the same thing. So I don't think that when people are learning, they're not understanding what tools do what and all that. They can't understand it. Like Phrase, for example, and Surfer SEO, and maybe Page Optimizer Pro pretty much do the fucking same thing. So, but they think that they need all of these doing the same thing. And as Holly's just said there, go back to basics.
Everyone's looking for an easy button. It's human nature.
People are always looking for the tool to do the fucking work, and that's not how it works. Obviously, the tool gives us the data, and then you build the processes. But people don't understand that part. There's a disconnect there. So they understand there's a tool, and you can do some keyword research, but no one does any fucking work. They're too lazy, or they want to find a VA to do it, and it's real low quality shit. So
hey, good luck teaching a VA how to do it if you have not learned the process yourself too.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think too many people are coming into the industry having read a book or fucking watched a few videos and literally think they can run with it, and they don't understand the deeper inner workings of how shit works.
My sister does super high level copywriting, right? And and she speaks on it, and she travels and does that shit. And what's funny is, we're seeing this trend right now of people coming in and AI content this, AI content that. And that's all good and everything, and people get into it, they get excited, they try all this different shit. And I'm not saying don't use AI content. I'm saying that people get themselves in a situation where they end up fucking themselves down the line, screwing themselves, down the line, because they're focusing.
Yeah, watch your language.
Yeah, exactly.
Disgusting.
It is. They're focusing on it, and they're not coming back, and they're doing things wrong with the AI content. So like, it goes back to the tools. Like, if you have the tools, like if I give you a tool that you can go out and blow your website up with, and you don't understand how it can be blown up or what can be beneficial, the tool's useless or detrimental at that point. I think Holly's right, though. It's the process. The thing I see the most problem with is that people don't understand what actually the process of SEO is, to use it at the end of the day to make money. Other than, I know how to make a keyword rank so I can sell it to another business. And to me, that is a business model, yes, but not understanding how to use it to make money gets the clients into trouble, and it'll get the agencies into trouble that are starting up and that are newer. And I think that we'll see that hopefully drop off a little bit as people get more educated and less people come into the industry if they do. But I think a lot of the problem is definitely not understanding the whole freaking like digital marketing process. And so I kind of feel bad for people that specialize, dude, to be honest, that don't understand marketing. I think that people that are doing SEO, they should understand marketing. Like, I think a lot of them don't.
But yeah, no, I had a guy, actually, a new guy to the industry, and he'd probably been in it for a few years, and he came to an event I was at, and he sat next to me in the bar, and he had a few drinks, and he was getting all kind of cocky, he fancied himself and all that stuff, and he's like, yeah.
You're talking about me?
Nah, someone just like you, though.
Okay.
And the guy's like, Craig, I'm the best salesman in the world, and I look after this, and I do that, and I do that. He says, I reckon I could take you on and outsell you all day fucking long, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, you're like, everything you're talking is just shit. Like, there's no chance. Like, people can smell the bullshit coming from you. You're just a sales guy that has no experience. I says, hand on heart, I reckon if we went toe-to-toe, I would win 10 out of 10, purely just demonstrating a little bit of knowledge. I've probably forgot more about SEO than this guy knew. And I think they just come in with this bullshit attitude, and they're fucking robbing people blind and doing really bad work, sheer incompetence. And obviously, Mike, you looked at, I had a web design company working a project for me, and that website that I thought there was something underlying going on, it's just gross incompetence.
Yeah, it ended up being, I dug, bro. Yeah.
It's fucking gross incompetence, and that is what we've got out there. It is just horrendous, man. That's it. It's just bad.
I just dealt with a situation, you know, just not a client, but someone I know that I helped him out with, who was doing their SEO for him, and they were charging him like $750 a month to build one link every 3 months and to host their website.
Send them to me. I'll charge them. Did you say $750 a month? I'll charge them
$750 a month
I'll cut their costs by a third.
A third of a backlink for $750 a month.
I'll even up that. I will guarantee them a backlink a month. So if you want to send them over, I'll take care of them.
Christian's in North Carolina, dude. Or he's in Charlotte.
Nice. Yeah, we're having an event next week in Greensboro. You should come, Christian. NFG2021.com.
We're going to be talking about the process we're using right now. Actually, some of the stuff we've talked about today, but I'm really excited to see I was talking to Terry earlier, and I was talking to Holly and Clint earlier. I'm actually really looking forward to what the hell's going on this year. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Anytime you get those three in the room, there's going to be a wrestling match, I feel like.
Ted, dude.
Holly will beat them all.
Yeah. Ted's, man, I'm like, how much time do you need? I'm asking people how much time they need to get it done. We're going through threw up a crypto site, in the process of, optimization of like in a deeper market. It's going to be very interesting to see the people grow off of this. I think there's two things, I'm not going to say what they are, that I've determined that people really are lacking in right now. When they understand it and then they have the automation system to deal with it, I think their business is going to change a little bit. It's going to be fun. I like the workshop style we're going back to, man.
Yeah, that's a great event for anyone who's not been and can get there. I can say that without obviously doing a show with these guys. I went out there and it was thoroughly enjoyable and very, very educational. But Holly's got a question for you, Mike.
I think that it depends where you're building it, I will say. And it depends on the page that you're on to some slight extent, but really it is more powerful for us right now in a very deep, top CPC market. But that's because with the spam update, the anchor percentage is seriously skewed on the brands. And I know that some people that are using tiered structures, and I'm not sure how you're building your links, but it's definitely not just about that anchor text on that first tier at this point at all. There are things that people are neglecting below that might be affecting the naked at top. So it's kind of hard to answer that, but we'll talk about it next week for sure. We've been actually been talking about that all freaking morning with someone about what we just saw last week as well. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, I think that it has to do with more than just the anchor text in the page that you're on.
For sure.
On both sides of that page, behind it and in front of it.
Michael Likens is
crypto
doing SEO for a crypto mining site right now as well.
Yeah, we're going to be doing crypto next week.
That is going to be interesting for sure. So as I'm going to be right, so what time will it be? So this will be evening for me when this shit starts. What time's the event start? 9 to 5, some shit like that.
9 to 5 Eastern.
9 to 3. I think it's gonna have to go to 5, man. When looking at the time and trying to get everything in there for everybody, I think it's gonna be like a 9 to 5-ish thing probably.
So I can keep my diary clear for the evenings next week, so I can hop in and out.
Once you have a specific time, I'd let Craig know. We'll get his video in, his presentation.
Which is jacked up because we picked October because of shit, and then that shit gets canceled because of COVID, and you got to love the world right now.
Yeah.
Surprising how travel can sell right now, though, with everything going on, man. I think we're almost out of space completely, but it's really been interesting. It's been a weird freaking year or two, hasn't it?
And then for anyone, out of the US who would like to see everything, we do have the live broadcast option available as well. That kicked off last week.
And just to be clear, that shit is normally not available. This is only available.
No, this is the only time we'll ever be able to do it. Yeah,
that you'll ever be able to get this. So if you do want to grab that, then do grab it, guys, because I think people were always getting or buying the shit anyway, the videos after it. And I think, certainly of the presentation I done at the last NFG, I know it was heavily edited and a lot of shit was cut out, but people were still like, mate, you done well, you gave over a fair bit of knowledge, and that was 50% of it being cut out. So there's definitely a lot of value in those videos, or as I say, attending remotely. So take full advantage. Holly is driving 15 hours. She's not keen on flying.
Yeah, I'm not happy about flying either, but I have to fly. So
come on, man, just do a fucking road trip,
dude.
Pick Fletch up.
A day to get to the fucking airport, bro.
William Rock is asking for a link to the live event, so we'll get that on
NFG2021.com.
Wait a minute to put this up here. Just forget about the in-person part. That was an old one.
Well, you can still. We've still got a few more tickets available for in-person, but far more people have jumped on the live, the live broadcast, than I expected, to be honest. So, it's going over very well. I've never gotten that many thank you emails, messages, whatever, from putting that out. So a lot of people are pumped that we're able to do that this year. So it was just, it worked out, to be honest, because I now know a videographer and we're doing the event in Greensboro. If we had been doing it anywhere else, I don't think we would have done a recording or anything.
David's, it's too, you can't answer that like this in this situation, in my opinion, without knowing what the target page is doing in the campaign. So
yeah.
It could be many things. But yeah, it really depends on what you're doing for your link building and what you're doing for your own page. They're not separate.
Holly is going to throw up some podcasts and roll, but Holly's crazy. She'll probably be doing some other shit in between with her mobile phones and shit. So
I was going to say, she's going to be doing going in and out of airplane mode to switch those up and fucking searching.
Holly should take a videographer and just video what the fuck's going on in that 15-hour trip, man.
Yeah. SEO road trip. Yeah.
Yeah. Do it, Holly. SEO road trip. People tune in.
Driving your Hummer all the way to Greensboro. H1.
Yeah. And then just coming and beating your ass, because I've got an announcement. I've got a big announcement that you're not aware of, but Holly's taking my place in that fucking ring.
Right. I don't mind hitting Holly. Good luck, Holly. She's gonna stab me when she gets here, but yeah. Hit me now.
November, that fight, I cannot wait for that fight, though. That fight, you're coming over, bro, or we're going over there. So,
mate, I'm telling you, I was working hard for it as well. But it just means that the problem we've got here with this fight being postponed, and Holly saying Chris is going a headlock, it just means that I'm going to have the chance to get even fitter and even stronger. So the chances have just increased of Brad dying by this.
I mean, there's nowhere to go but up when you're at 0 or negative, right? So yeah. You better pray you get better.
Man, I'm doing well. Don't you worry about it. Injury free. Over my injury, so yeah.
My main injury is my hand all the time. I hit too fucking hard, so it's just hitting that bag, and the bag falls off of the ropes or whatever they got hanging. It's just keeping those in stock and not having them explode.
I've got one thing to say though: bags don't hit back.
No, they don't. No, neither do bricks like Bloodsport. Yeah.
So you need to prepare yourself properly.
I'll tell you what you'll be hitting is the ground like a sack of fucking potatoes. Mike's going to have some from Idaho for us at the event.
I'm looking forward to that fight.
Yeah.
I really am.
It's going to happen. Don't worry. And even if I just...
Paul and I are going to have a pillow fight. I've determined, I think. That'll be good.
But we could just have a fight in the bar, like a barroom fucking brawl.
Do it.
I'm down, dude. I saw someone go blind when I was 15 in one of those, dude. That was a good fight, dude.
Needs must have.
Oh, I seen some bottles slit some throats. I got some fucking stories, guys. So
we don't want to hear those stories.
Barroom fucking brawl. But yeah, no. Yeah, it's funny. Life is good, right? But on that note, don't get me started about bar fights, bro.
No.
But guys, do check out the NFG 2021. There are tickets available if you do want to go to the event in person. But equally, if you want to tune in and watch it remotely, check the same website, NFG 2021. Yep. And that's it. But I
have one question first, Craig. Like, what's the deal with like all the shit memes that I see about people doing fucking front flips on mattresses in Glasgow?
I have no idea. Like,
dude, I keep seeing this shit about like friend finding a mattress on the road and everyone doing freaking front flips onto it in the streets where you grew up, bro. So I'm trying to figure this shit out.
And
I've seen 300, and that's what he's about to run into.
I do have to say that my dumb ass is very Scottish, so I'm gonna have to side with Craig over here. So
yeah, Brad,
never take our freedom.
But Boothco, you can.
When you get the stream, you'll get the replay as well. So you can hop on.
The difference is, and like we had questions about, but the stream's going to get shared, this and that, and of course our shit always does get shared. You can't stop that shit. The tactics, the people, the tools that are coming along with all this and the processes, like that's why it's able to be done too. Why we were able to do it this year, because of the way it's structured. It's not a, hey, look at these slideshows and that's the value you get. It's a, hey, this is here. There's money right here. There's opportunity.
Money's in the follow-up too.
Yes, and the follow-ups and the people that are writing those tools that people are using, literally sitting there with them and walking over that shit with them. So, it's, if you do stream, then there is stuff after the event that we'll ask you to attend. Probably, we would prefer you do attend it so that you get the value out of it we want you to get. Because we have certain like levels of what we want people to walk away doing and understanding and implementing. So something to think about, follow up with us afterwards so that you're on those additional, streams that we're doing with you directly. So yeah, I don't know. I'm hungry, dude.
Yeah, time to shoot off. But I will be back tomorrow, not with Chris Palmer though. Holly has volunteered herself to fill in while Chris is on holiday.
No, Holly, no. We're talking about something else for the people that are streaming. The workshop is the workshop.
Yeah, the workshop, it would be difficult to do the workshop because of the classroom style setting and the fact that people are going to be bringing their own projects to the workshop. So it would be, I think, irresponsible of us to stream that day.
I'm going to toss someone under the bus for the workshop, not say who they are, but maybe when you get there and you're at the workshop, you might want to ask about instant GMB verification, because that's what they're doing. So there's some interesting shit going on right now with changes. So it's interesting.
Shit's opening back up. I clearly got fucking shut down, permanently closed yesterday. But yeah, it's back again. But yeah, fucking GMBs, man. And it's probably you, Brad. I seen that smile there.
Oh, is that what you were talking about when you got shut down? No, that wasn't me. I don't mess with people's stuff like that. I'm too busy making my own shit to worry about anyone else. But I have been fucked with before, so it does suck.
Yeah, but it's all sorted. But on that note, guys, we are going to shoot off. But do check out nfg2021.com and odys.cc, guys, and we will catch you again. Are we going to be on next week, or are you guys going to be traveling?
What do you want to do, Mike? Tuesday.
I guess you're traveling, right? Yeah, I'll be driving or fucking.
I can hop on if needed, Craig.
God damn, I forgot it's next week.
Yeah, let's hop on, man. I'll hop on,
do it.
Brad, and we'll just hope that Mike gets there alive. So
we'll see, man.
Either way, it won't matter.
Doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter.
So,
all right. Thanks everyone for showing up and chatting. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Bye-bye.